Sorry to hear that, Mike.
Sorry, we're the defending champ.
Look, I'm just a bitter old Blazer fan.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Team Morale Podcast, where we do our three favorite things: talk a little bit of booze, a little bit of beer, and a whole lot of basketball. Ian, the tall guy, back with you again for another episode, and we are very happy to welcome, all the way from the Sunshine State, which is not Florida, it's California because they have more sunshine, Michael, Big Mike, joining us today.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on. We're here to talk a little buy and sell episode. The stock market's been kind of a thing as of late.
It's been a thing for a long time,
but it's been more of a thing because it's a meme now, which we are here for. But now that it's a meme, we're gonna, have a little fun with it, fun with buying and selling ourselves. So I'm gonna have some takes, and Mike and Mitch are gonna buy or sell them.
I'm all about it. But before we do that,
every time. But before we do,
but before we get into that, we have a Zoom going on now, so I can show the bottle. We are drinking Skrewball, and it's Skrewball peanut butter whiskey. It's to the misfits, black sheep, and all the Skrewballs out there. And I just poured myself a glass, and it is sweet.
It is sweet, and Mike picked it out. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike? Also, tell us what the whiskey is and what you think about it.
All right. Well, born and raised here in the Southern California, and you know what that means? That means I've been a Lakers fan all my life. So I've been.
You're not a Clippers fan?
No. The Clippers
are there Clippers fans in California?
Honestly, no. The only reason you're a Clippers fan is if you just want to be different.
Sorry, Brandon.
Yeah, I thought the Clippers are just like the dominant favorite in Los Angeles. Is there another team there?
There is another team there.
It's kind of like New York with the Yankees and the Mets. Like, if you're a Mets fan, you're not a Mets fan because they're good. You're a Mets fan because you just like being different.
You don't want to be the bandwagon.
No.
Yeah, I get that.
So you're a Laker fan. Growing up in LA, you've had a good couple of months then.
Yeah, past couple of months have been good. I mean, need AD to come back, but he'll be back by playoff time. We'll be fine.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
All right, so on to Skrewball here. You picked this one out for us. Why'd you pick it?
I did. So I actually had it at a recent Super Bowl party, and I was like, this is interesting. So I was actually inspired by your Chet Smith's beer episode. So I was like, you know what? It's something different, probably something you haven't tried before. So why not bring it on the pod?
It is something that I've never tried before. Peanut butter whiskey, a wild ride.
It is. I called a couple different places to make sure that they actually had Skrewball whiskey because I had never heard of it before. But I'm glad that we tried it out because you're right. It's definitely a unique kind of whiskey with like a unique flavor. And you're right on point with the Chex Mix being like a good inspiration for it because it's kind of an off the wall sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a little weird for sure, but it's we'll get in more of the flavor profile a little bit later. But Mitch, you've got a little backstory on it.
Yeah, so the Skrewball whiskey kind of started from a husband and wife duo that they had a bar that they owned in California, and their most popular shot was a peanut butter whiskey shot. And they kind of think of their clientele as the oddballs, the Skrewballs, the black sheep of the world. And so that's where they came up with the name Skrewball.
The bottle.
Yes.
For those of you that are on our YouTube, there's a black sheep.
There is a black sheep on it, which is kind of the inspiration behind the name of it. But the family, the husband and wife, they're kind of an interesting duo. Steve Yang is a Cambodian refugee and polio survivor. He is a kid at heart and worked behind 3 high volume bars that he developed in Ocean Beach, California. This is right off their website, by the way. And then there's Brittany Merrill Yang, who is also she's an Ocean Beach native. She knows how to have a good time, but she also is like a doctor/lawyer. She got a master's in chemistry and a law degree before becoming a pharmaceutical patent attorney at a large global law firm. And I guess that she has been mainly in charge of like the branding and the marketing of this. And so together they created this peanut butter whiskey called Skrewball.
What's her name again?
Brittany Merrill Yang.
I love the fact that Brittany just wanted to have in her bio, like, hey, I'm fun. Like, I'm married to a bartender. Everyone knows he's fun. And I'm the academic of the family, but I'm fun.
But I also know how to have a good time.
But for real, it's interesting. We'll definitely get into the flavor profile a little bit more. Good pick, Mike. It's definitely an interesting one.
Hey, try my best.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So let's get into these. I've got 6 different statements here that you guys are going to buy or sell. And then you're going to have to explain why, because if you just say buy or sell, we would be on the air for like 30 seconds. And then I have a floater one that could just be a fun one. So my first one is about the Brooklyn Nets. And it is the Brooklyn Nets with their recent changes and their plethora of star power. This is their championship to win. Buy or sell.
I'll let you go first. Guess first.
All right. Well, I'm going to sell this one. Not that I don't think the Nets are good, that they're going to figure it out by playoff time, but I'm not going to say that it's theirs to lose. I still think that they're going to have some issues on the defensive end because basically the whole team is 3 players. And like, you still got teams like the Lakers. You still got teams, even in the East, I could probably give them a run, maybe the Sixers. So do I think they're a team that could definitely win it? Absolutely. But I'm not going to say it's theirs to lose.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm going to be along the same lines. I'm selling this. I don't think that these star like trio teams win in their first year a whole lot. Usually it takes some chemistry building. Usually it takes like kind of like figuring out the rest of your roster. Cause I agree. Like they're 3 guys right now. Their defense is tough. Their depth is going to come back to bite them come playoffs. And also the lack of the amount of time that they actually are on the court together is all I think going to come back and bite them. Can they win a championship? 100%. I kind of relate the Nets this year similar to like the Buccaneers in football. Is like when they're hot, it's going to be a really, really impossible team, like hard team to stop. That being said, like I could see them getting in their own way. I still think that this is like the Lakers' years to lose at this point.
You referenced to them as the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers did win the Super Bowl.
I know that's what I'm saying. Is like they can win they can win.
I'm going to go more Miami Heat.
All right.
They lost in the finals the first year to Ethan Cavritz.
Heck yeah, they did.
Yep. And then they were able to get some more guys, strengthen their bench. And that's when they really, got on their roll. So I see a similar sort of trajectory for the Nets.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can see that for sure. Let me throw you just like a tangent one here. They are rumored to be able to get Andre Drummond in a buyout market. If Andre Drummond is to be buyout, he is not said, but it has been rumored that he would like to join the Nets. With a ad like an Andre Drummond, let's say he does end up there, what does that do to their chances?
Championship. That's what really? I think.
Easy.
I mean, if you add Andre Drummond to that team pretty much as a minimum player, I feel like you should be the odds-on favorite to win at that point.
It definitely helps your chances, but I'm not going to say it's a slam dunk.
All right, so it's you don't think it's a for sure, but Mitch thinks it's over at that point.
I think that like they should be the at least minimum to win the East, like the landslide favorites. If they added a guy like Andre Drummond, he kind of like solves a lot of the issues that they have, which is rebounding and rim protection.
Yeah, and you add a big guy that you could throw at an Embiid.
And actually have a chance. No offense to DeAndre Jordan, he's not the same.
No. But why do you think it doesn't, Michael?
He's probably your starting center. I mean, and that means your bench is still pretty weak. I understand that you're going to have at least one of those 3 guys between Kyrie, Harden, and Durant out there at any one particular time. But I just still think that bench is a little soft.
It's fair. It's very
Absolutely.
fair.
I can see that. I can see them struggling in the playoffs. I can see them struggling in a playoff series against a good defensive team, especially when they can't stop anybody to save their lives. Absolutely. Let's move on to we were talking about Andre Drummond. Speaking of big men, my next statement, a traditional big man will win MVP this year. Ooh. A big man that is in the traditional sense will win MVP this year.
Should we go back and forth of who goes first?
So Mitch, you go first this time.
You know what? I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy this. This is some stock I'm buying.
So, and by traditional, I'm talking your Jokic's, I'm talking your Embiid's. You can argue that maybe like an Anthony Davis would kind of be in that realm, or maybe a little, that one might be a bit of a stretch, but Jokic and Embiid are the two main ones.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of think that it's going to come down to Jokic and Embiid. And then I think that, LeBron's name very well could be in there. Like, I think LeBron might win. He might have a legacy MVP because there might not be like one great true, like you feel like this dude should be the MVP like there has been the last several years. Just knocking my mic all over the place. And so I think that this would be a great year, especially after the Lakers went big and won the championship last year. This year, have an MVP go to a big, which hasn't happened in a long time.
All right, Mike.
So I'm buying.
Mitch is buying, Mike.
Oh, man. This one's tough. I mean, definitely the guys you mentioned definitely have a good shot. And I feel like if this is going to be the year, if it's going to happen. My thing is that I feel like the MVP is mostly about narratives. And so I think right now, LeBron hasn't won in a long time. So maybe the narrative shaping up for LeBron. Dame has never won one. So, if he can somehow get them to a top 4 seed, after all the injuries that the Blazers have had, maybe he gets in the conversation. Ah, man. Yeah, I guess I'm going to sell. Definitely not adamant about it. I definitely like the guys you named and the years that they're having, but I just think the narrative, and then it usually goes to guards.
It's true.
Historically.
It does go to guards and forwards more than it does centers, especially as of late. I think the last like true big to win one has got to be 10 years from now, right? It was probably Dirk.
I think it was. I'm going to do some double checking.
Is that a true big man though? I mean
he played
a lot
center.
of threes.
He did, but so did Jokic and Embiid.
Yeah, but so did PJ Tucker for the Rockets last season. So I mean,
if you're going past Dirk, I have no idea. Are you looking this up?
I'm trying to find it. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Dirk won, I think, in 2007. So that automatically puts you back 14 years.
It might be Shaq.
Shaq won. When was that? Like early 2002, 2003?
Yeah, around that.
Hold on. I got it.
One big man that's won an MVP in the past like 20 years.
Well, I get also one thought. It's not traditional big man, but Giannis is kind of a big man. He's kind of a 7-footer.
Yeah, Giannis.
Like,
I wouldn't say traditional.
I would
say Dirk would be a traditional big man.
The last power forward or more to win was Dirk in 2006, 2007, and then you have KG in 2003, 2004, and then Duncan for a couple years, and then Shaq, and then Karl Malone.
So I would argue KG. If you're saying Dirk doesn't count as a traditional big man, I would say KG would probably.
KG and Duncan from 2001 through
sure.
2004.
Duncan's a for sure traditional big.
Yeah,
I'll take both of those.
All right, so
it's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Because the MVP has always gone to a flashy player, and generally the big man is not flashy. But if you look at Jokic and Embiid, how they're playing the season, it's pretty flashy. It's pretty fun to watch. There's a lot of exciting plays.
Yeah, I think that this year it's specifically interesting because there's not one guy that's kind of running away with it. The last 2 years, it was very clearly this was Giannis's league. He was dominating people. They were the number 1 seed, and it was fairly obvious that he should be the MVP. And then you had years before it with Curry and like with LeBron. It's like there's so, and like when Harden won his, when Russ won his, like there was debates at the time, but it's got like afterwards, you're like, yeah, those guys were definitely the MVPs. Right now, mid-season, there's no one you're really feeling is like the number 1 guy. So it's going to lead up to being a really interesting race, like come the end of the year.
Yeah, there's no front runner at all. I mean, I think Mike hit the nail on the head where the narrative is screaming LeBron. Where when you don't know, generally it goes to the guy with the best narrative. And you're right with that. And right now, LeBron, especially with AD being hurt, if he can keep them, afloat, which hasn't really been the case so far. They've been struggling pretty heavily. But if he can keep them afloat and then, finish out the season with some good stats, like, I mean, the NBA is always going to favor LeBron over anybody. So, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I feel like when you're on the fence, you always got to lean towards the bigger stars. So,
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we talked about some MVP stuff. Let's talk about some end of the season playoff implication type things. This one's a little wild. My statement is only 5 Eastern Conference teams will end the year with a winning record. Right now, currently, there are 5 because the Celtics won tonight. We are recording this Tuesday night. The Celtics then finally got above 500. That is the 5th team in the East to be above 500.
So you're saying over 500, not just 500.
My statement says, I'm reading it because I wrote these down a couple of days ago. Only 5 Eastern Conference teams will end the year over 500.
Over 500.
Over 500.
All right. The floor is yours, Big Mike.
Well, as I'm looking at the conference standings in front of me, I look at Philly, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee. They're definitely going to be over 500. So that means I got to take 2 more to get over 500.
Also, real quick, the Knicks are a 4 seed.
They are.
What is happening?
The Knicks are
Don't
figuring
look
it out.
now.
Yeah.
Don't look now, but the Knicks are actually the 4 seed.
That is wild.
I don't think that the Knicks will be over 500 at the end of the season. I think that they could, be in the hunt. But I see Boston still being over 500. They'll figure it out. They're just too talented not to be under 500, especially in the Eastern Conference. And then Miami, after a just abysmal start, is now found their footing. They're only a game under 500. So I got to think Miami will be over 500 as well. Is it 5 or more than 5?
Only 5.
You just got to hit 5.
So you got to hit 5. So if Miami and the Celtics do end up the year over 500, I should have said 6. Can I change it to 6?
I mean,
I'm
sure.
officially changing
man.
it. I'm making it more interesting. 6 teams.
All right.
You're the one in charge here. You tell me.
5 seems too easy because I do agree that the Celtics and the Heat will probably figure it out and be above 500. So now you've got to find that 6th team that gets over 500. I'm changing the
I definitely would have bought 5. Now, 6 makes it a little more interesting.
Quick note, there's 9 in the Western Conference that are currently above 500.
That's wild.
Just for a fun note on the side. Anyways, continue.
Well, and I guess that's a big variable too. I still haven't seen the back half of the schedules for all these teams. So it's kind of like, all right, well, who you playing the rest of the year? I'm going to buy this. I think Indiana they're only 3 under 500 right now. I really like Indiana. They're always a team, no matter who they have on there, that always just seems good defensively. They get enough scoring, and I think that they'll be over 500 by the end of the year. So I'll buy this.
So you're buying that 6 teams are over 500 in the East. I'm also looking at the standings. Yeah. I'm also looking at the standings and like our whiskey bet that the Hawks will be a top 5 seed. Not looking great.
It's not looking great for you. No.
They are bad. Another team in the East that is bad. Anyways, Mitch, are you buying or selling?
So my gut reaction screams sell, mainly because the Eastern Conference is just kind of
a dumpster fire.
Yeah, just a load of garbage. That being said, I'm looking at the teams that are at 500 or near 500, and I really believe in the Heat, the Celtics, the Raptors, and the Pacers. And all I need is for 3 of those 4 teams to get to 500 or get over 500, because 3 of them are at 500 right now. So I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna go.
This is our first agreement, right?
Was the first one agreement?
Oh no, you both sold the.
No, we both sold the
Nets.
We both
first buy.
Yeah, it's our first buy, I guess. All right. Fine.
Yeah, so I'm buying this. I think that the Heat are starting to figure it out. Jimmy Buckets is actually, getting back into shape, starting to look like himself. The whole Heat culture is starting to come back together a little bit. They just started off so roughly. Same with the Raptors. They
couldn't have had a worse start.
Yeah, they couldn't have
had either of these teams could not have had a worse start.
The Raptors could not make any shots, and they could not stop anyone from making shots in the beginning of the year.
And when the game comes down to making shots and stopping your opponent from making shots, that's tough.
Makes it hard to win games.
It's tough to win games when you can't make or stop them from making shots.
But they have really started to turn it around. I'm not going to doubt on the Hornets. The Hornets have been playing pretty well too, and I'm with you, Mike, on the Pacers. I've always been a big Pacers believer. They're just constantly a good team. Feels like they have a rotating door of all-stars, but it just feels like they're a team that probably will end up over 500. So I'm going to buy and hopefully more Western Conference teams start losing to Eastern Conference teams in the second half.
The West start losing, please.
Fingers crossed.
It is kind of funny that the Blazer fan is a fan of a team with a last name of Sabonis on it, which is just, not fishy at all.
I love him and his father.
All right, so that is 3 of my 6 questions so far, and one floater maybe later. We'll see if we get to it. Let's take a minute here and revisit this whiskey, because there's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot. So I poured a glass, and the first thing I did was like sniff it, and I was expecting just kind of like a normal, like your kind of normal, relatively dull whiskey smell, and it was just like totally the opposite. It was just like a huge like all peanut butter.
It punches you in the face.
Yeah, all peanut butter. Yeah, and it kind of punches you in the face. And so that was the first thing I took from it.
Yeah, you smell a lot of peanut butter. You smell, at least I did. I smelled a lot of caramel, like a lot of caramel right off the bat, for sure.
Mike, so what do you think about it?
I think it's good. Is it something that you're going to drink every night? Probably not. I think this is more like something that you bring to a party, something that's like a conversation starter. It's definitely very sweet. Like if you're into like Jack Daniel's, like honey, like this is, like looking at you, E.
No.
Like you'll probably love this. If you're more of a guy that's definitely more into like the traditional, like whiskey that isn't as sweet, probably something that you are gonna probably pick something else. But definitely you can make some good cocktails with this. Bring it to a party. Everyone's gonna be like, "Whoa, what's that?" I'll definitely try it. So
it's definitely a conversation starter when it comes to whiskey, because again, peanut butter and alcohol just generally don't. No one really tries to mix that, and so when you're throwing peanut butter into a whiskey of all things, which is, again, whiskey is very, like, in my opinion, kind of rigid in that it not all taste the same, but they all have kind of the same flavor profile where they're all kind of hitting the same notes a lot of the time. And this one just comes out of left field and it's just wild.
Yeah. I think that it's a great like shot whiskey.
Yeah.
You take shots. You can just take shots of it all night. And it's kind of its own mixer in a bottle, and it's just good. It's just solid. Like it's got a whole lot of definitely sugary kind of flavors, but I think that they're really good.
Yeah.
I will say it is pretty smooth.
Yeah, it's super smooth. There's 0 bite on this. Zero bite. You could feed me that and say like it's like a, like some sort of like peanut butter cider thing, and like I would be like, okay, there's no alcohol in this.
Yeah.
Like there's no bite in this whatsoever.
My dad is really into putting whiskey over his ice cream. And this is one that I bet would be super good over ice cream.
Sure. Or making it into like a milkshake or something like that. Like pour this into like a milkshake type thing.
Oh, alcoholic milkshakes.
Mitch is intrigued.
I'm all in. I'm all in.
Dairy and alcohol, 2 things that will not do anything bad to you whatsoever.
They also got like, I can notice that like they had a little like the label was coming off, and they had
the camera.
So the label was kind of coming off.
You can see,
but there's I don't know if you can see it, but there's some lettering on the back side of it, and I'm pretty sure that it like is the definition of a Skrewball.
We're taking this off.
Are we just taking it off?
Happening.
Okay. Oh.
Okay, this is way harder than it's going to be. Oh no, I ripped it.
Wow, that did not go as you planned.
That did not go as I planned. Well, let's see what it says.
Don't worry, we can get the other half of the message from inside of the bottle.
An individual. Oh, it's the definition of the word screwball. Yes, I actually got the actual definition.
So that's okay. Good.
An individual who is not afraid to stray away from cliche things in life. A black sheep. One who has the courage to stand alone, but rarely does.
Well, thank you for that. Now we'll get some glue and try to put this back on. Sorry, Skrewball.
Thank you for your SAT word of the day.
Yeah,
exactly.
I did not expect that. That did not go how I expected.
No, it did not. I'm gonna pour myself a little more.
We literally like planned on doing that in front of the camera, and then I didn't really test it at all, and that was a mistake. Anyways,
I was like, look at these lettering back here. I was like, oh, let's open that up during the podcast. That did not go well.
False. All right. Anyways, let's go back into basketball here. I have a just shameless plug homer move here, guys. I know you guys are both going to look at me with some disdain, but my next statement: the Mavs make a needle-moving move at the deadline. Buy or sell?
Ooh, wait, who's going first now? Is it you or is it me?
I think it's Mitch.
It's me?
Mitch is first, yeah.
All right. I am.
And by needle moving move, it is something that either like it's not like a boring one.
So a trade for like Ken Birch wouldn't be
no, that's not a needle moving move.
Needle moving trade for you. So a needle moving trade would effectively be a Kristaps trade.
Not necessarily. Like I would think like a trade for Drummond that like doesn't involve Kristaps would be a needle moving.
Okay,
move.
that's
like,
fair.
Like that,
it doesn't have to be KP.
No, not
that
at
being
all.
said, it's probably KP oriented.
I don't know what you're talking about. He's not up for sale. I heard Mark say it himself.
I'm actually going to sell this.
All right.
I think that there was a ton of smoke around the KP trade rumors and like the big trade rumors there last week for a little bit of time. And the Mavericks were really gauging the market for KP. And I think that they came out being, we're a little underwhelmed. Let's see how the rest of the season plays out. Either him and Luka start figuring it out and playing well, or he at least starts playing better and raises his value a little bit.
Or he gets hurt and they can't trade him ever again.
That is the other option. So I kind of think that they tested the waters. They found out that it wasn't what they were looking for and that they're going to pass this year.
All right. So
this offseason, maybe, but sell for now.
So a sell from Mitch. Mike?
I'm actually going to buy this one. And I do think it is KP that moves. And I only say this because I thought John Wall and Russell Westbrook were just two immovable contracts that would never leave their teams. But after that trade, I think that somebody will take a flyer on KP, maybe, take them and then, do some cap maneuvers, whatever the CBA allows. And now what do the Mavs get back? I don't know if that's necessarily a star player because KP is hurt so often, but I do think that could be an impact player. So splashy like Ethan's hoping for, I don't think so, but I will buy that they will make a trade that will at least make a difference.
That's totally fair.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. So at least I got one answer that I wanted.
No offense, but you and most of the Maverick fans that I've talked to are like, I don't want to trade KP unless we're getting a genuine star. I'm like, I want
Michael Jordan reincarnated. Is that too much to ask? Is that too much to ask?
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Now, I'll give you the 7'3" European guy with no knees. Now give me Michael Jordan now. Okay. That seems fair.
Yeah, you would think that.
All right. But speaking of the deadline, my next one also has to do with the deadline. My statement is a big star will be traded at the deadline. And if you buy it, who?
Ooh. Good thing you're first on this. I want to think about it.
Oh man. Yeah. I'm trying to think who would be on the market.
So we're thinking about guys maybe like Beal, even though the Wizards are starting to figure it out. Maybe like Beal, maybe Kristaps, maybe Levine, maybe Randall.
I will clarify. A big star could be an all-star player, or it could be a fringe all-star. I'll expand it to star, all-star, a fringe all-star, or all-star player.
Well, I mean, since I said that KP is already going to be traded, I'll buy this one. But just for the sake of, conversation, outside of KP, I'm going to sell it. I mean, just the guys that you named. Chicago is only a game and a half out of the 8th spot in the East. So I don't think Zach LaVine's going anywhere. And then, Beal, they are starting to figure it out. But then again, Washington's only 2.5 games out of the 8th spot. And then if you consider that there's going to be the play-in tournament this year, they're 2 games out. So, and you got to think with the talent of Westbrook and Beal together that they could beat up on the bottom of the East. So I just think there's a lot of incentives, especially with the play-in tournament, to stay put where you are and try to at least just get into the play-in tournament and then see what happens from there.
You make a good point, and it's something we haven't talked about on the podcast before. How the play-in tournament impacts teams to where like you could be, that 10 seed and be like, well,
we made the playoffs.
Well, not only
in your
that,
head, you're like, oh, we kind of made the playoffs.
But not only that, but
sell the t-shirt, baby.
Yeah.
But you're also like, I want to keep my guys so that we have a chance in this play-in tournament versus last year, not last year, but the year before when you're the 10 seed, you're like, dang, like we sucked. Let's start selling assets. And now it just expands the level of competition to where like you want a lot of teams are wanting to hoard their stars because like you don't have to make 8, you only have to make 10.
Oh man, I feel two ways about this. And it's either buy or sell. It's one or the other. So I'd have to go back and look, but I'm willing to bet that there was some sort of high caliber player traded in the middle of almost every season.
Which we've already had.
Well, we've already had with Harden.
Yes.
And there, like, I feel like there's a lot of like rumors and like trade buzz going around, but I think that it being a really weird season and what you were saying with the play-in tournament in play for a lot of these teams, like it is kind of those teams that are thinking they might be play-in tournament teams that would be willing to trade their stars usually. And I think they're kind of thinking, no, let's try to see if we can get in that play-in tournament. Let's see if we can get into the playoffs. And I think I think the weird season, the way it is this year, and then also adding that play-in tournament is going to cause a lot of teams to kind of shy away from pulling the trigger on the big trades. But I'm willing to bet there's a lot going on in the offseason. So I'm going to sell that there is a big trade this year.
All right. So we got 2 sells on the any more splashy things happening.
I think it's going to be
very boring trade deadline.
I think it's going to be one of those trade
Technically,
deadlines.
Technically, I buy. I do
because
think
of KP
will move, but I do think that's because that's not necessarily a move that the Mavericks are making for this season. That's a move that they're making
for years,
not only for this season, but for years down the road. I think it made sense for them.
They're moving off the KP contract, not upgrading.
Correct.
Yeah, which is fair.
They're moving off of his knees.
They're moving off of his knees.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
You need your knees.
Yeah,
you need them.
They are important.
If you're an athlete, if you're a person, you need your knees.
As a Blazer fan,
people need knees.
As a Blazer fan, I've seen many a big man go down with knee problems. So I get so gun shy with that. As soon as you start seeing it with KP, I was like, man, I would trade him yesterday. He might be amazing, but the best ability is availability.
It's a very good point. point. So we have time. So we're gonna go into my other.
Let's do it.
My floater one before we get into. I have another one at the end that I'm saving for the end. So this one is revolving the All-Star game, and it is the All-Star game should happen. Buy or sell. It's going to happen, but buy or sell should it
happen? All right. I believe I'm first on this one. I'm going to buy this.
Okay.
I think that it should be happening. Right? I'm buying.
You're buying that it should happen.
Yes. I think that it should be happening. A lot of the players have been fighting against it. Obviously, with COVID going around, do we want to send all these guys from different teams into one area, all these being the best players? Like, what happens if one of them gets COVID? I can see how there's a lot of negatives. But I'm thinking about this from the bottom line of the NBA, which is we need to get some of this cash back that we've lost over this last year. They've lost well over $1 billion, and they are trying.
That's $1 billion with a B.
Yeah,
by the way.
And they're trying to make back as much money as they possibly can. And having one giant all-star game night, as opposed to having a whole weekend, makes it a little bit more friendly with the COVID thing. You still get all of the best players in the world coming together, the same platform with the Kobe Bryant platform. And I think that it was one of those things where they thought more about how are we going to do this, not whether were we going to do this. Even though at the beginning of the season, they're saying like, oh, probably won't happen. I think the entire time Adam Silver was thinking like, how are we going to make it happen? Not if we're going to make it happen. So I am buying that it should be happening.
Yeah. It's tough just because the whole, the players have just been so outspoken about it not happening. And the All-Star game is to showcase the players, and you're showcasing players that don't want to be showcased. And that's the difficulty of the situation right now. Mike, what do you think?
And that's a perfect segue into why I am adamantly selling this. I just think it's a bad idea to take all of your stars in your sport, throw them into one arena, and even open it to the possibility of all of them having to go through COVID protocol and then having a bunch of games after the All-Star break where you don't have your biggest stars. So I just don't think that's a smart risk. you did say that the NBA's lost, $1 billion, but at this point, that's just kind of a sunk cost. Like, you're not getting that back. That's just a bad break. It's the way it is. And one All-Star game isn't going to get that back. So I just don't think the risk is worth the reward of one weekend. I mean, I get why TNT, who has the game, wants it. Obviously there's ad revenue involved for them, but for the NBA, I don't think the cost benefit analysis is on their side on this one.
Yeah. If COVID were to if one of the players were to contract COVID and it was traced back to this game, the NBA would be under a world of hurt. And if it spread throughout, imagine 4 or 5 All-Stars coming out of this game with COVID, that could be bad as well.
And like you said, I mean, a lot of players have expressed that they don't want to be there anyway. So what are we watching? The NFL Pro Bowl? Nobody likes the Pro Bowl because the players don't care. And I fear that will happen this year since so many of the stars have come out and been vocal that they don't want to be there.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that they're definitely trying to capitalize on the momentum that they got from last year's game a little bit too much, because last year's game was the best All-Star game we've seen possibly ever. And I think that they're like, oh, we finally got the model down. We need to keep this going. We talked about how last year it was donated mainly towards charities for kids and stuff like that. And then this year it's mainly donations for HBCUs. And I think it's going to take a little air out of the building, having no fans or less fans. And you're not going to have all those kids there to cheer on their teams and stuff, because they kind of nailed the model last year. So I think that they're thinking, well, we got to do it. We need to keep the momentum going on it. We want to still showcase to all of our fans, there's some sort of normalcy, and we can bring all these guys together. They've been doing such a great job with all these teams traveling over the course of the year. I think their last test, they only had 5 guys test positive. And I think that they're going to be extra careful. If something did happen, that would be bad. That would be really bad. If you had a player that got COVID and couldn't play for another 2 weeks and it impacted their team like that, that would be horrible. It's kind of like if a guy got injured during an All-Star game, that would be really bad. I think that they are they're already assuming that they have all of the things in place that they need to make sure it's going to be a safe environment. I don't think the NBA of any sport would be the ones to push this if they didn't think they could get away with it pretty well.
I would agree that the NBA is the sport that can get away with it, but I would push back on this, saying that the players already don't want to be there. And so you're talking about they want to follow up the amazing, the amazingness of last year's All-Star game, because you're right, it was amazing. It was awesome. I'm a little worried, and I'm kind of leaning more towards you, Mike, and this is my first time I'll weigh in. Just because of the whole the players don't want to be there, I'm worried about the product of the game. I'm worried about the product that they're going to put out on TV, to where you're going to kind of not ruin, but kind of taint this this way you're doing the All-Star game, the Kobe rules with the 4 quarters and everything, with a subpar performance in its second year. And it's because the idea is great, but if your players aren't willing to buy in, it's not worth anything.
But I think that would be an issue if we saw more guys start backing out. Now, we have seen Kevin Durant back out, but he's already missed a whole bunch of games in the first place. If we saw 3, 4, 5, 6 more guys that are in the All-Star game kind of just be nah, I'm good. I'm not going to play in this. I have no interest in, I want to rest myself for the rest of the season. I have no interest in potentially contracting COVID. I have no interest in traveling and wasting my rest days like that. If we saw that, then I would totally agree with you, but we haven't really seen that yet. And as of right now, we're getting the best talent out there, and it's still going to be the best talent, and it's still going to be a good game if you have those guys there.
Yeah, I'm just going to go back to the NFL Pro Bowl. I mean, you get the best talent there at the Pro Bowl, but then again, the intensity is just not there. What made the NBA All-Star Game so great last year was not necessarily the format itself. It was that it encouraged the players to play hard.
Kyle Lowry took 3 charges, which was awesome.
Exactly. Who does that? He doesn't do that in a regular season game, but he did that in the All-Star game. So
electric.
So even with the format, if you have lackluster, effort from all the players, then the format's going to suck too. I think we don't want to attribute that all of last year's All-Star game was purely due to the format. It was also the buy-in from the players. And I just don't know you're going to get the buy-in from the players given rest days, COVID. The back half of the schedule is going to be even more loaded than the front half of the schedule because of certain cancellations and makeups. I just don't see it, but they're going to do it anyway. I mean, it's a money-making business. So
I understand why they're doing it. And I also, like, don't get me wrong, I'm going to tune in and watch it. Like, I'm not going to watch the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I hope that it's going to be amazing. And like, I'm not like, but I just think if from an objective, like money-making standpoint in my head, or not money-making, but like just objective standpoint in my head, I just think the risk is more than the reward they're going to get back. But that's also me predicting what's going to happen. And like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's an amazing game, and I hope I'm really entertained by the end of it, because again, I'm going to be watching it.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
I hope it works out. I totally see where you guys are coming from. If I was the NBA, I would be going through with this regardless. And it's all about how you're going to do it. And hopefully the guys do buy in. Hopefully it does turn out to be a good product, but it could go downhill really fast.
Yeah. That being said, I could care less about the 3-point competition and the dunk contest so far this year.
Hey, Anthony Simons is about to make a name for himself during the halftime when he wins the dunk contest.
And I already don't care about the skills challenge to begin with. So
yeah, you're not wrong about that.
But yes, I am excited to see what the All-Star game has in store, but I am going into it with it's already going to be half a glass versus type of mentality, so I can be pleasantly surprised if I'm wrong.
Exactly. It'll be fun to watch it, but hopefully nothing bad comes from it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so I have one more. It's a little pop culture-y.
Okay.
So Kim Kardashian and Kanye West are breaking up.
Oh, I know where this is going already.
My comment is Kim Kardashian will start dating an NBA player. And if you buy, if so, who? And you both have to buy, so you have to pick a player.
Well, I was gonna ask. This is more of like which NBA player
you have to buy, and you have to pick a player.
It could be an NFL player.
We're an NBA podcast, so you have to buy and you have to pick a player.
Well, I will sell that it will be anybody but a basketball player. Like, we've never seen her date a baseball player. We've never seen her date a football player. It
Reggie
will
Bush?
be a basketball player.
She dated Reggie Bush. She did date Reggie Bush. It was like a week, but she dated Reggie Bush.
Can't believe I know this much about that family.
So anyways, again, Mike, you're up first, so you have to buy and you have to pick a basketball player.
Oh, jeez. See, the Kardashians are not my wheelhouse.
I was very excited when I thought of this question.
Of course you were.
Give me a second. I'm just looking at teams here.
I could toss out some names for you if it'd help.
Yeah, it would.
Some random guys. So on Instagram, I saw like some over-under bets of which NBA player she's most likely to date next.
Oh, no way. That's
okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Klay Thompson was the top of the list.
Okay, there's a rumor going around that they're already dating, and I'm kind of here for it. That'd be hilarious.
Klay Thompson swooping in on Kanye already. Klay, there's Devin Booker, who I'm pretty sure is dating her sister right now.
You can always go back.
You can always upgrade. What I thought was kind of funny was Malik Beasley.
No, she's not. No.
I thought that was kind of funny. Who are some other guys? Maybe Blake.
Blake Griffin.
He was dating her sister at one point. He might be going to a relevant team here in the next couple years.
She's just going for sloppy seconds on her sisters.
Yeah. That's how they work in that family.
All right.
They just keep Ben Simmons. He's involved in that family.
People who've already dated. You're going to say Chris Humphries next?
No, she already married Chris Humphries. That was a 70-day experiment that failed.
Man, you do know a lot about this family.
I don't know why I know so much about this. I'm a little ashamed.
All right, Mike.
I am proud that I did not know all of those people.
Time's up. Pick a player.
Oh, man. All right. Well, they live in LA. I got to probably pick somebody from the LA area. Let's see.
Is Anthony Davis married? Do you know?
I think he has a wife and kids.
Okay.
You know what? She's going to date Montrezl Harrell. That's it.
Ooh.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
I got one.
I was waiting for the Jared Dudley name drop.
I got one for
No.
you.
Montrezl Harrell. So Michael
Yeah.
buys because he has to and picks Montrezl Harrell and Kim Kardashian becoming the next big thing.
You know what? I'm sticking with the LA theme. I'm buying, and she's gonna date Alex Caruso. She's loving on
The
that
bald
bald look.
mamba.
4th grade math teacher is totally her type.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Honestly, did Paul George got engaged? I think he would have been a good one.
I did know he cheated on Doc Rivers' daughter.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I know about his love life.
Yeah, man, I know a lot about the love life of the NBA.
That's pretty
Yeah, I didn't know I needed
pretty
to watch
popular.
Love and Basketball before coming on the pod.
Hey, underrated movie.
All right, Mitch. So you've thrown out some names, but it's time to choose. Are you sticking with Caruso as you're buying?
I
and
am
you're rolling?
firmly landing on Alex Caruso dating Kim Kardashian next. I think
Just
that would be so fun.
wild.
That would be wild.
We're ending with fireworks here on the Team Morale podcast. That exhausts all of my list here for buy or sell questions. Heck of a time, guys. We had some laughs. It was an interesting time. Skrewball Whiskey joining us today.
Yes, thank you, Skrewball Whiskey. I'm sorry you don't have a label anymore.
Yeah, what a dick. Just ripped that right off.
Yeah,
come
well, I don't know
on.
who'd do that.
Who would do that to a whiskey bottle?
But yes, very good, especially for beginners, beginning whiskey drinkers. It's very easy drinking. It's
You
very
won't know
sweet.
there's alcohol in it.
Yeah, you won't know there's alcohol in it, but it'll still get you drunk. The beauty of it.
That's the spirit of everything.
That's the real spirit.
Also, special thanks to Big Mike for joining the podcast and lending your expertise in on the podcast. Always fun to have a Lakers fan on because you guys have some big opinions.
Yes, thank you for joining us, Big Mike.
Yeah, expertise is a strong word, but happy to be on. I had a good time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Team Morale podcast. We'll be back with you guys next Wednesday. This is 2 Wednesdays in a row.
Hey,
We're on a roll.
We
here,
are on
guys.
schedule.
2-game win streak.
We are on a
2-game
roll.
win streak.
I might use that in the open next
How,
time.
how many we've actually done in a row?
Welcome to the Team Morale podcast, where we do our 3 favorite things, talk a little bit of booze, a little bit of beer, and a whole lot of basketball. Hey, we're on a 3-game win streak here, guys.
I like it.
All right, cheers,
like
man.
it. All right, cheers,
everybody. Clink.
Clink, clink.
Like,